एषः सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एषः सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्मिमाणः निर्मिमाणः तदेव शुक्लं तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यति कश्चन एतद्द्वैता 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 एतद्द्वैता.
Namaste. Good morning, my dear professional colleagues. We are here to attend the webinar on the company audit and the company matters we have to follow in this year. The changes due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the pronouncements relating to that, and this is a very, very important and relevant topic as far as this month and next few months are concerned. So we thought it will be very useful to all the members, and we selected the topic. We have got an young and experienced faculty, Mr. Baby Paul, here. He will be dealing with the topic today. He is a director of BSR and Associates LLP. He is based in Kochi, and he has experienced in various listed and unlisted companies handling the audits and other affairs of those companies, both manufacturing, IT sector, healthcare sector, all those things. And he is also good at IFRS audits, initial public offerings, right issue, etc., etc. And he will share his experience and his knowledge with us today. And one thing I would like to remind you that the identity cards of the members who have subscribed to the ARS is ready with us. All identity cards are with us in the institute, and please make it convenient to collect from the institute as far as possible. Okay, and that is what I want to remind you. And over to you, Mr. Baby Paul. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Anil sir. Thanks for the opportunity to present my thoughts around this topic. As Anil sir mentioned, I mean, this is basically an year where dramatic changes happen, not because of any new standard came into picture, only because the general economy around us, right? So I mean, I don't know how many of you signed off any financials in the last few months. Those who signed off would definitely feel the pain when you put pen to the paper kind of thing, right? What you want to write in the auditor's report, what you should write in your notes to accounts, etc. So my experience in this is, yeah, so I mean, personally, I have signed off at least 15 financials for March 20. Along with this experience, I will share what is a practical experience we had when we signed off some of this. I will, so my coverage will be especially on the ICAI guidance issued. There are a lot of guidance came, which is one way I would rather see, unlike in the earlier time. ICAI came back with a lot of guidance around this, starting from end of February, then it is topped up till end of June. So there were so many guidances available. Even after this training, my suggestion will be to go through those, because most of us whatever we wanted to report is already there. I mean, of course, I will be taking some of these in the upcoming slide. Yeah, so sorry. I will try and cover what is impacting the financial statement. We may feel what is going concern, but going concern is something which is, I believe, whether it is company, whether it is partnership, whether it is individuals, something should come in the CS auditor's report, whether it is emphasis of matter, whether it is material uncertainty, or an adverse opinion, depends on the gravity. Because the way you read the institute guidance, it is very clear that this is one of such event which requires reassessment of all such financial statement assumptions. I mean, even for something like an estimated useful life. Happy to answer your queries in between, or I just splitted the session between two. One is after I completed the financial statement caption, we can have some questions around that. And maybe after the audit report section, we may have an additional question. Yeah, this is, I mean, just a summary slide. Everybody know, I don't need to explain, right? People are not concerned about their health. They are more concerned about economic. This survey is very clear. I mean, yes, health is the first priority, but most of the people, if you survey it, is concerned about the economy. And as a chartered accountant, I think we will be concerned 99% about economy than the health, because if economy is not prosper, our life is in danger. So I was reading some newspaper article yesterday, right? So institute is tied up with an NBFC to support chartered accountant. So even in ICA believes that there is some going concern issue for chartered accountants. So what do the news articles say? That there are 500 chartered accountants firms already availed loan from this NBFC. I mean, that NBFC is not familiar to me also. So that means as chartered accountants, we are also going through that pain. And this is the industry impact. So why I'm putting this slide, because whether it is small or big, right? May not everything will be applicable to them, but some of it is definitely applicable to them. So we should not think that this entity, I mean, the promoter will definitely come back and tell us that it is applicable to everybody. So to me, right? And we will recover in the coming months. And people showing results about it is better than April, May, June, July is better than June. All that stuff will come to us to convince us as auditors not to report anything. My suggestion being, like the institute guidance also suggests, is that we should have enough disclosures in the current year audit report around this. If any of this is experienced by any of our clients, right, the adequate disclosure should be part of the auditor's report. Coming back to audit, right? I mean, as an auditor, so I mean, as I told you, we have signed off listed entities, including the first quarter, unlisted entities, including manufacturing entities, etc. The challenge, I mean, all of you know, right? How do you audit now? Institute is given the leeway how to audit on a lockdown kind of situation, what you can rely on virtually. So as a firm, yeah, so I mean, we are all relying on scanned document these days. We do inventory counts virtually through, I mean, maybe Zoom or Microsoft Teams, whatever you want to call. We are unable to access the original documents in some of the situation because the document may be in a containment zone, etc. For example, if you have a client where you have a branch in Mumbai or Chennai, the client in Kerala will definitely tell you that this document is not accessible currently. Okay, so what is that? I mean, so there is a lot of significant challenges. We never expected all this happen to us as an auditors in the near future. So how do we overcome? What should we include in our reporting? I will try and explain. Up to now, happy to, I mean, if you have anything preliminarily, let me know. Otherwise, I'll continue. So I will try and see, I mean, these are the keys financial statement caption in our financial statement for all of us. Institute actually came back and covered more caption. Some of this I thought at a high end Ind AS related matters, for example, the right to use or a lease liability accounting. which I am not covering here. But if any of you have a specific questions around that, happy to clarify even those. But my I will focus around some of these captions. What could be additionally or incrementally we should look at in the current year. Yeah, the other impact is, as I told you, I mean,
Mr. Devipul, I just want to make a note of one thing. We have muted all the participants so that there will not be any more noise in between. And in the end, we will have the questions.
No worries, sir.
That will be convenient.
Yeah, that will be helpful. Yeah, great. Yeah, okay. The pervasive impact, which is very important for the auditors, as I said, going concern, which I will cover later. This year, auditors report without a going concern emphasis of matter paragraph. Personally, I believe it is a tough task, whether it is a small trader or to a large Tata Motors or I mean, what you want to call. I mean, maybe people like Infosys or a Wipro, where the cash generating entities may not have this emphasis of matter paragraph. But anything other than that, to a smaller trader to I mean, I told you, right? I mean, even Tata Steel or Tata Motors have this paragraph in their financial statement. Some of this non-financial asset, let me try and explain the subsequent slide. So these are the key things I will explain the subsequent slide. I'll start with the inventory because this is the common theme. And as an auditor, how do you get the correctness of the inventory? Because I can relate to. I mean, I done my articleship in a smaller firm, worked with this particular firm for now 14 years. Even though, I mean, as a firm, we don't audit too many smaller entities as such, but I mean, I can correlate some of this. Inventory at the financial statement is certified as management, and that is being recorded as closing stock, and then we report based on that. I just wanted to bring to the attention of all, right? There is an SA 01 which mandates the audit. So there are two audit procedures which the ICA through standards on auditing mandates. One is the physical inventory verification. Second is that confirmations which you need to collect external parties. Right? These are the two mandatory audit procedures as per Indian standards on auditing. Others are actually given to the professional judgment of the auditor. So this one is attendance of physical inventory count is mandatory. Okay, and only exception they are given you or given to as an auditor is that unless impracticable. And you have some other audit procedures which you can confirm through this closing stock balance. Okay. Now, impracticability in the institute guidance. So institute have a guidance around inventory alone. I mean, my suggestion is if anybody of you noted certified the financial statement, do go through. I'll try and explain some of these concepts here. Inventory impracticality, institute is also accepted the fact that COVID-19 is a situation where it impacts the health of the auditor. If you go and count the physical stock at that point in time, which is 31st March, even subsequent to the year end, wherever I mean, we are not comfortable with. So this is an impracticable situation where we cannot count physical verification. So there is a leeway there. But only thing is that they given institute guidance is given certain leeway only if you do certain procedures. So I covered impractical means. This next question is management is certifying closing stock as at 31st March, right? Most of us know certain clients was not operating on 31st March, right? Even client couldn't open their shops, showrooms, manufacturing facilities. So how do they certify it? First of it, that this is their closing stock. Generally, I mean, general presumption is that 90% of the companies couldn't go to the factory or to the shop or to the showroom to verify the physical stock available on 31st March. So if any of the management coming back to us as auditors saying that we certified this as on 31st March, my suggestion being is that we should be little pessimistic around that because nobody could verify the closing stock as at 31st March, right? So what is the implication of that? I will cover again when we have a question around Caro in the subsequent slide. Now, next is, yes, they are not verified on 31st March. Then what is other option? Other option is, of course, verify as of now. Now, now in the sense when they started their operation sometime in mid of May, could have verified. Or if it is not verified even as of today, I mean, verified today. I mean, that is the latest possible date I can think about. But once the lockdown is over, management can definitely certify saying that this is my closing stock. Okay, and now I told you. So the institute is saying if the management itself is not verified the closing stock on 31st March, then auditor cannot verify. So clearly there is an impracticality. Now management is verified closing stock on, for example, 21st May. We don't need to count closing stock, right? We need to be there when the management counting the stock, which is we call it as attendance of physical inventory counting. So we don't need to be mandatorily there. So in this case, if the management is decided to count and it is being informed to you, my suggestion being is that being virtually there to see how the management counts, because it's an important assumption as an auditor we makes. Now I found, so when we done an audit of a particular company, they said that when the closing stock statement initially came to us, they have a work in progress of a particular amount. So I don't want to tell the amount, but yeah, so work in progress of a particular amount. Because the lockdown happened suddenly on 14th of March or 21st of March, and the factory being shut down, what is in progress being there, they couldn't process it as a finished goods. Then they said that, okay, I have a closing stock which I value it at a cost basis. So this is my closing stock WIP value, right? So when you look at the, I mean, how do you as an auditor will be comfortable when he says that something in the WIP? I mean, definitely we challenge them. So finally, it was a write-off because this work in progress will not be able to process after 2 months of lockdown. It is a dead stock. So be attentive of some of this classification in the financial. If we anywhere we are showing a work in progress, my suggestion is being that be little skeptical around that, because work in progress for 2 months, if the factory is not working, is a dead stock, right? Now I told you we need to.
We have our past chairman of SARC also here, Mr. Jomon K. George, has joined us. So thank you, sir, for joining us.
Hi, Joman sir.
Son, on unmute you. Sir.
Thank you very much. Maybe not interrupting, I just thought because a very important area of concern now, company audits, large audits, the COVID-related issues, Institute has come out with a lot of announcements. I was listening to Baby, very good friend of mine. So we are not meeting in Cochin, so I thought at least virtually I'll just say hi to you.
Yeah.
57 members and still counting. Very, very relevant topic. And the only thing, not to comment anything on that, the whole point is that the Institute's publications, the spirit is to say that professional skepticism, as in SA 200, should stand amplified in all that we do in this given unprecedented situation. MP Vijaykumar had done a presentation where the caption was auditing in times like never before. That is
yeah, actually, yes. Yeah.
Great going, Baby. I'll be here for some time. Then I sign off. Thank you for recognizing me, Chairman Anil and Cherianji. Shivaraman sir is there. I'm seeing a lot of seniors. Sir, Nallarka sir. Okay. Get going, Baby. Thank you so much for.
Thanks, sir. Thank you. See, I will meet you soon.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
So I was on the point around what could be then alternative procedures for us. So some of these are even listed down by the institute guidance as I was mentioning. So I mean, the institute is drafted in such a way that, I mean, the same standards, right? I mean, they will say that auditors shall perform alternative audit procedures to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. And it is a very, very, very tricky wordings. But then what is that sufficient and create audit evidence is something as an auditor we need to think about. Some of it is already given in the guidance. So they said yes, his auditor may not be able to perform the inventory count. They given two alternatives to perform an alternative procedures. One is if they have an internal auditor, whether the internal auditor was present during the stock count, then take note of that report, and you can still rely on that because he will be a experienced guy to perform such activities. Second is an institute is saying engage another chartered accountant firm. So it is clear. It is not another expert. It need to be another chartered accountant to attend the physical verification. It can't be anybody else. Okay, that is the guidance around institute. Now we are passed through all these phases. Right now we are in August middle, and doing these two procedures looks very unlikely. Now if you need to do something which it is to be done by us only. Now another option given by the institute in that guidance was you do your verification through virtual count. All right. So as a firm, what we done in most of the places is that we attended the physical verification of the management through MS Teams or a Zoom. The client will go through the premises of our factory. They will show us the quantity whatever we wanted to see. So we will be sitting in front of our laptop. We, in the sense, our staff will be sitting in front of laptop and verify or being attentive on the stock verification. But this is one of the procedures. If I am 99% of the listed companies being done this way, because their results are supposed to be published little early in the day. Unlisted companies, whatever signed off in the last few months, being done in a similar fashion. If any one of you not even start doing any count and the client is still not have too much of movement in the physical verification, preference will be not to travel, but use the technology to do the physical verification. And don't worry about whether it is a acceptable practice. It is an acceptable practice as per ICAI. Now, so you missed all of those, right? I mean, for example, you couldn't rely on an internal audit report. You couldn't, appoint a chartered accountant firm, and you couldn't even do a virtual count. Only other alternative which institute is saying that you look at the controls of the inventory, right? What the management has. For example, each purchase and sales being recorded correctly on the stock statement on the day or on the moment of sale. You have a good ERP system. You are comfortable with the ERP system. So we call it as the design and implementation of controls around inventory process, right? And that is being operated effectively. So then you can relay. But you need to additionally do is that look at additional supporting documents around this, including the purchase invoices and sales invoices, and tick it off, saying that the movement also being captured well in the stock statement. So these are the only way we can come out of if you are not attended physical verification. Again, my suggestion, as I told you in the beginning, if you have any doubt or if you are not able to perform the inventory count, bring out the fact in the auditor's report. We may not need to qualify this, but we need to say that we have done this way. We used alternative procedures, and it is a good way to demonstrate that we are not hiding anything from the promoters or from the regulators that way. That is on physical count, but valuation, even though a little simple in nature, but this year net realizable value, it can't be just arithmetical accuracy, what they sold subsequently, etc. Most of it might be not even sold as of today. Some of them have expiry by stock. So look at the expiry again. If you have something of similar sort. If no expiry and this is a clean stock, it can be even sold, do that way. But we ensure that some of the fast moving stock prior to COVID is a slow moving stock now, right? So we need to be careful on those parameters, whether there is an additional provision being required because of slow moving stock. For example, maybe your computer, laptops, etc., may be a fast moving compared to your pre-COVID. But right? What is the other areas where the hotels, restaurants, airlines, or related entities, right? The hardwares, auto dealers, some of them are actually really struggling in terms of moving their stock. This is a simple one. I am not spending too much of time. If you are a manufacturing company, you need to absorb certain overhead to the inventory valuation. Be careful. You can't take the complete overhead of the year because there is a lockdown of the factory kind of thing. That's on inventory. I'll move to, even though heading looks very bad, but this is primarily covers property, plant and equipment, intangible assets and goodwill. Hopefully, I believe at least most of you will have dealt with some of these scenarios. Property, plant and equipment, as an auditor, generally we don't touch in every audit, right? But institute guidance is this year clear. For example, intangibles and goodwill, the standard is very clear. At least annually, this need to be tested for impairment, whether it is AS28 or Ind AS 32, whichever standard you want to follow, right? So it need to be tested for impairment. Now, PPE, they're saying that if there is an event which is very critical, then you need to test it for impairment. Now, Institute clearly demonstrated saying that the COVID-19 is an event which trigger all these scenarios. So you need to mandatorily test these for impairment. So, I mean, if you go back to a client saying that since you are not done your, or you are not close to your units for 3-4 months, we need to look at your useful life, etc. It will look funny, but that's where we need to be little against skeptical. Not every case could lead to an impairment, but I personally led to a situation where there is a manufacturing entity. They had to shut down the factory because even the people around in the factory was impacted or affected by COVID. So they opened once. Again, people got impacted, not in elsewhere in Kerala, it is in Cochin only. So now they shut it again. They reopened after 21 days. Again, one set of people become COVID positive. They shut down again, right? So what happening is at least 4-5 months of production being stopped. The raw material, it is a fast-moving consumer goods kind of company. So what will happen to them is that the raw material not have too much of shelf life. The factory, every time they need to restart, they need to do a little bit of maintenance over there. So when we looked at the cash flow projections from this unit, you need to look at the cash flow projection to do an impairment of PPE, right? So when you look at the PPE cash flow projections, actually there is an impairment to be recorded. So I mean, the financial note is signed over, but clearly some of this can come up for many of your clients, not for all clients, I would rather say. But be pessimistic when you have some of these numbers in the financial statement and factory is closed for 5 months, etc. Don't think that the useful life of the asset will be same, okay? And we also take some residual value of the fixed assets while amortizing or depreciating the assets. Relook at some of those. I'm not saying that everything to be relooked at it, because some of these equipments cannot be used further. I mean, because either after COVID, this is not relevant. Okay, some of the significant changes being happened. I covered it, ceasing of operation, demand declining. So now next is in every management prepare a budget for every year. This year also people prepared budget. I mean, management prepared budget. We need to be very careful that it can't be the same of last year. It need to be trued up for the impact, and it can't be again average sales into 12 months, etc. So we need to really look at their projections and see whether anything to be included in the. See, one is whether you pass an entry in the financial statement. Second is you want to highlight some of this in the auditor's report. Maybe wordings, etc. I can cover some of these wordings which we can use in a later slide. Now, yeah, some of the I mean, additional factors. This is primarily from the guidance. I was telling that this is an activity which is for economic activity because of COVID need to mandatorily do. I anyway touched it. Look at the future cash flows very carefully. So that is primarily there, but for example, I have a couple of things around goodwill. If you have anything in the consolidated financial, right? What will happen to goodwill? Goodwill is based on, I mean, we have seen enough situation. If you look at the listed company financial, goodwills are being written off significantly in the current financial year. So if any of you do any consolidated finance statement, whether it is C&AG audit or any of the audit, if there is a goodwill, generally there should be a write-off, because every year when we look at goodwill, you have a very significant higher projection coming in. If you reduce your projections for the year ended March 21, which is what you should use it for impairment, the present value of that cash flow will significantly be down. You can do it in Excel sheet, management can do it in Excel sheet, somebody else can do the valuation. But generally we seen is that goodwill is an item which is getting written off in the current year. Even though it is straightforward trade receivables and loans, I wanted to just put forward a couple of thoughts around this. When we asked the management about trade receivable realization, etc., definitely money has not come. Okay, I mean, even billing which we done as a chartered accountant firm, we know that money is not coming, right? So so what the clients are doing is that they give us confirmation from the party, because party is willing to pay this. So some of the good parties, of course, you should rely on those confirmation. Everybody delayed the payment, so you can't challenge every single confirmation received. But some of the party is getting into bankruptcy. For example, after the August moratorium goes, we know, I mean, most of us know that at least 50% of our clients will not be able to make the installment payment from September onwards. Okay, because they have enough cash flow issues. So then this cash flow issues, if my client also have a similar cash flow issue, then is it right to show that as a receivable, or should I make a provision against it? Okay, so be careful of some of these large balances. I also know that most of us put a note in the financial statement, as well as I see something in the auditor's report as well, saying that loans and advances and trade receivables, etc., based on the confirmation obtained with the management. Yeah, but here we have additional responsibility. If it is only confirmation, suggestion being is to include in the auditor's report. So my screen is cut off. Yeah. Sorry, hope everybody can see. Somehow it got disconnected. Yeah, so I was saying group entity loan, which is the common thing. We call it as window dressing, right? One entity will give loan to other entity to ensure that their net worth is positive, or they have enough current assets to settle their liability to the bank. And we see this is common in COVID situation. I mean, I would rather say that it is common for you, most of you, wherein this is happening. Look at carefully. We have an standards on auditing only on related party transactions and arm's length. Even though you tick all the boxes under Companies Act, as well as other regulatory requirement, including Income Tax Act, this standards on auditing is very important, because this also requires the auditor to see whether it is arm's length and given for a proper purpose, right? So don't, I mean, my suggestion being group entity loans and advances to be relooked at again under COVID situation. If the loan is given to another party, generally it is to support that entity, because that entity will be struggling. So do not making any provision is also to be justified. We can see some of this happening. You give a loan to a group entity, then extend it for a further period, etc. Here I'll pause for a minute, because I mean, most of you know now this new clause on Caro came up, which is applicable from 1st April 20, which is very wide right now, right? So it is not to loan to a related party, it is loans and advances to any party, right? They don't want us to look at only the related parties now. So, and one clause being added is that whether any point in time the loan being renewed or extended credit period given to any of these parties, which should be reported now, which is also very, I mean, we never seen such a situation in the past. I briefly mentioned related party receivable. My take is that may result into a modification. Be alert on this. I mean, this is an Ind AS terms. primarily the same, right? But in Ind-AS MAME, it is to be recognized based on a method called expected credit loss. It is clear, the regulator, including SEBI, and even if you go back to the global regulators and even the local ICAI, is very clear. Expected credit loss methodology, which they are used under Ind-AS in 2019, cannot be used in 2020 because of COVID. There could be an incremental risk of default. So factor that risk of default in the ECL computation. If any of you are doing the Ind-AS, please be careful on this. Sorry. Another area which we can see, investment. Generally, people don't have too much of money, but some of our financials still have investment. But these investment, what we see is that in group companies, okay. I mean, if you are in a listed entity, or if some of the companies still do share, I mean, investment in shares, right? Which you are available. You have a net realizable value available from the listing document itself, or the NSE or BSE exchange itself. So you will be able to fair value. But some of the companies are invested even into, I know that into companies like CIAL or Kinfra, where the government tell them to invest a little bit of money into that, etc. So we look at it very, very specifically. So my highlight here will be in the slide, again, looking at investment in subsidiaries, associates, etc. Okay. This year, it is tricky again. Whenever you are funding a subsidiary and associate, and if you are not the auditor, and other auditor is also chartered accountant, I'm not telling them, because if you are the auditor of the parent entity and you are not the auditor of the subsidiaries, or for that matter, the associates, taking confirmation will not help. Taking the draft financials may not help. Okay. So the suggestion here being, you should ask for a proper cash flow from them, how that is not impaired. These are all peculiar situations. Some of this, and again, I'm telling you, this is not to be tested for everybody. There could be profit-making entities where we invested. Some people will ask us, see, this is my wholly owned subsidiary. Why should I do all this, right? Wholly owned subsidiary will only matter when you prepare a consolidated financial statement. But if you prepare a standalone financial statement, right, you need to look at it individually, and you need to comment on that standalone financial statement. And generally, this investment is a good number in that asset side. So don't think that because it is a wholly owned subsidiary, do I need to really look at so much, etc. It can be still an impairment at the standalone financial statement level, but nothing at the console level. I covered this Ind-AS. Unlike Indian GAAP, where you can still carry at cost, some of this investment under Ind-AS need to be fair value through P&L account, what we call, which anyway will factor all this COVID-related matters. This is another common thing in every financial, which I believe, actuarial valuation to be taken wherever required. Now, actuarial valuation until last year, it's okay, right? Because you look at the benchmarking of the industry. Even the actuary also do some kind of analysis, and we put the actuarial report into our file, and we move on in life. Again, couple of points for all of you. Look at the increment rate used by the management, because of course, in the inflation data 2 days back came at around 6.8%. That doesn't mean that these entities going to pay a 7% increment on a long-term basis. Now, people are reducing salaries. How they factored there in their actuarial valuation. So it need not be the current year data, but it should really prove up in the current year. Now, attrition rate should go down. It can't go up, because COVID-19 situation, we are not expecting any employee is voluntarily resigning themselves because they will not get job. Even if I want to resign, I am also looking not to do in the situation. So so the attrition rate to be true down, but some of the companies may terminate their employees, which is a different matter, which anyway you need to take it differently, not through actual valuation. Discount rate, all of you know, is significantly down compared to last year. I mean, these factors may give a gain to the client. This will be a credit to the P&L account. The client will be happy. We should not be unhappy as well, because some credit also coming to the P&L account. Okay, but this is something, because these assumptions to be part of the notes to accounts. So it is important that we verify this. Now I told you termination. There are termination happening. So some of this could be subsequent to the balance sheet date, right? Because people are actually started terminating when the lockdown is over, etc. One of our client actually reduced 40% of the staff. I mean, the promoters saying that, I mean, unless I have money, how do I pay to employees? I mean, most of the employers will go to that situation. So if you have something like a termination of the employment of the employees, etc., look at your balance sheet statement, correct? Because you need to accrue that in the 31st March financial statement, even it is a subsequent event. Incentive bonus, we need to challenge them. Unlike other years, incentives and bonus may not be the same numbers. Generally, the incentives and bonus are zero. So your provision, you need to relook at it. But some companies even miss to provide for statutory bonus. So anyway, there are no relaxation not to pay statutory bonus, whether you making profit or not. So ensure that management is at least creating statutory bonus, but maybe not creating for any other incentives or bonus. This is a simple thing, but we look at your deferred tax, current tax assumptions again. Some of this is based on your future profit. For example, MAT credit entitlement. Even though you have a longer tenure to set off your MAT credit, and management will say that I will set off in the 10th year, right? But look at it again. I mean, some of this projection may not, because now this projection which we are getting, right? There are multiple places we are using. One is your PP impairment, one is your going concern, one is your taxes, etc., etc. So correlate all these into one and ensure that this match each other, so that we are not carrying any additional deferred tax assets / MAT credit entitlement. So my first session on the reporting or impact areas is primarily done. I can take some question if you are okay now, and before I move to my auditor's report thing. Anybody? If any of these areas, do I need to clarify further? Do you think any of the balance sheet P&L area which I have not covered? Okay, so hope either whatever I am telling seems to be understood well, or not making too much of sense. Hopefully, let me know. So in between, I will go through the audit report side now. Happy to take further questions after the reporting as well. Okay, so now we looked at all the captions, and we realized now that some of this will have an impact. Okay, so and we all now came into mind that this will have an impact in my reporting, or rather this should have an important reporting. Now, how the reporting works, right? I mean, now clearly the report format is given. How do you, if you want to give the attention of anybody as an auditor, you have an option either to put an EOM, emphasis of matter. Second is put a modified opinion, which is qualification or an adverse opinion, right? Maybe this assumptions, whatever we are talking about, management taken certain assumptions, etc., whether we can qualify is something to be still looked at it. But some of this requires a emphasis of matter, because we want to bring to the attention of the readers that we carried some of this in our audit report. Okay, so it can come some of this. So I mean, I know key audit matter is something which many of us may not be doing in any of our audit report, because we still believe it is for the listed entities to do. But at this circumstances, if you don't want to do an EOM or a qualification, right? This standard allows you to put a key audit matter. Key audit matter, just to re-emphasize, give an option to the auditor in a particular matter. What is the audit procedures you done, right? And that is how you are comfortable with. So for example, you relied on certain management assumptions. Bring out the fact in the key audit as a key audit matter, because key audit matter is not a qualification. It is not an EOM. It is only a statement of fact, like your CARO. You can bring out what is the key audit option and what are the audit procedures you done. Okay, this is an option available. Other three I told you. These are all qualification or a material uncertainty or an EOM paragraph will come. Institute is already given certain sample. I will also run through institute sample as well as one other sample which could be beneficial to all of you. Now, this is how institute guidance read, right? All of this need to be considered when you prepare your audit report. This is nothing new, but this guidance is actually re-emphasizing, saying that look at it again. Okay, as an auditor, we were doing this before, but institute again telling you that look at it again, considering COVID-19, because there is an impact on your operation, revenues, cash flows. So why are you relying on the same assumption given by the management? For example, certain adjustments is required, unlike in the past. If the management not ready to make the adjustment, do you want to just issue a clean opinion, or want to bring out a fact in the auditor's report, right? You use certain assumptions for going concern. It is. You can relay or not relay. You are not so confident on the management assumptions. Then do you want to really bring the fact into the auditor's report? You bring it. Okay. See, for example, for a going concern, you need to look at 12 months. Institute also says that it is not okay. Financial statement to be prepared 12 months from the balance sheet, 12 months from the balance sheet date, which is 31st March 2020. Now in August, you have a lot of visibility how that 12 months will work. But as an auditor, you have a responsibility to even look at 12 months from the date of your audit report. How far you will be able to look at it is a different matter. But at least this 12 months from the balance sheet date, we need to be very clear. You looked at it, and the company will be able to make their loan payment, etc. And the assumption given by the management is kind of a break even. They're saying that I will generate cash flow equal to my loan payment and current liabilities. And you are also okay. But then bring out the fact in the auditor's report. You don't need to qualify their financial statement. And we call these emphasis of matter paragraph as a COVID EOM, okay, which is a common word used by the auditors across. This year, if you have a financial statement without a COVID EOM, then your work papers to be so strong to say that you have such a good evidence. Okay, so COVID EOM is something that is mandatory, is what I believe in most of the financial statement. I told you, you can look at any of the listed entities financial statement. Most of the financial statement will have a COVID EOM, except to the extent maybe an IT company or a Mukesh Ambani company, etc. Right? ICAI given you scenarios where what could be relate to a modification, right? One of them saying that there could be inadequate disclosures or improper accounting because of COVID. Improper accounting, I taken you through what could be that improper accounting in the various caption. So I'm not repeating it here. And some of this is also disclosures. Now, other thing is, next thing is I wanted to tell everybody is that I know you guys will be doing, but a note in the financial statement about COVID and its impact on the company is mandatory. Okay, whether you are qualifying or putting an EOM or not in the auditor's report is a different matter, which is again professional judgment. But a note which is mandatory in the finance statement by the management saying that there is a COVID. I mean, you can get enough examples from any of these companies. A COVID note should come saying that these are the measures taken by the management, like cost reduction, reducing employees, rescheduling the repayments of borrowings, etc. And we are expected to, that doesn't expected to have any material impact on the finance statement. This note is mandatory. I'm again telling you, this is notice clearly need to be given by all management in all notes to accounts. Your decision whether to replicate that into the auditor's report, which we will again go through. So one is, I told you the management is not doing enough accounting or enough disclosures in the financial statement. Second is, we touched, right? As an auditor, am I able to got enough evidence on all of this? Because of my issue, maybe I may not be able to travel. For example, I have a client where their factory is in Trichy. I mean, at that point in time, I know Trichy was not even reachable for us. We tried through a lot of other people where they can travel, but nobody was willing to travel, right? So then do you have sufficient appropriate evidence to know that that closing stock is correct? And there are other areas, right, wherever we're going through now. Do you have enough appropriate audit evidence to do that? If not, you bring out the fact in the auditor's report. Again, auditor's report, it need to be in three parts. Some of it may not be applicable to all clients. One is your opinion on the financial statement, which is anyway applicable to all of you. Second could be in the IFC may not be applicable to all of you, but if you have an IFC opinion, whether this can impact on IFC opinion. Third is CARO. CARO, at least 3-4 clauses, which is clear, will have, you need to think about your answers when you are answering those paragraphs. I will touch on anyway in the subsequent slide. Now, going concern. No, I'll put up this slide, right? So this cup, I think most of you might have seen through WhatsApp forward. And I don't know how far you kind of interacted with your client. This cup was, even forwarded to us by the client. Okay, asking us to why can't you look at our going concern based on this? Why are you looking at the previous definition? All right. This is a question coming up. I mean, I need to. You will also get this question. I am into losses only because of coronavirus. Okay, so you should leave out that impact and see my financial statement. You will be more comfortable. Yes, we can see that. We will definitely look at the cash flow, maybe removing that exceptional item in the financial statement. But to going concern, you look at 12 months next year. You can't remove coronavirus. Okay, coronavirus need to be there. So whenever you prepare your cash flow statement or by the management, you need to take the impact of coronavirus also into the cash flow and reduce so much of cash flow if it is impacted, right? Now I told you about a COVID EOM. COVID EOM, there is an EOM given in this guidance of ICAI itself. This is pretty standard. I mean, anybody can give this EOM in any financial statement because, I mean, we should convince the client. There is nothing different than this. We are only saying that we are also like Trump. We couldn't also control COVID, and we also know how to make a statement in your audit report. So we wanted this COVID EOM is to be part of your financial statement. All right. This is available in the ICAI guidance. Now I'm putting another EOM which is extracted from another entity's auditor's report. Little bit redrafted to bring out a couple of additional parameters. Here, what are we talking about is that I told you there could be impact around impairment of the PPE, etc. Right? So don't leave it to the COVID EOM. Don't leave it to the going concern. You should add sentences around company's liquidity, going concern, and recoverable values, property, plant, and equipment, etc. So it depends on if you have a goodwill or an intangible, you should add. So if you see the last sentence, right, that is where we done that modification to say that not only going concern or a liquidity, right? It could even impact your assessment or recoverable value of PPE, inventory, whatever you want to say, right? So this is an EOM which preferably should be there in any of this financial statement. Yeah, so let me know if you want to have any clarification on this in the subsequent slide. Now, Caro, again, there are only 3 clauses. This can have specific impact. First clause is, of course, physical inventory. We touched on this, right? What is the procedure we should do and how do we do this procedure? One of the question in the Caro, it is not to us, right? The question is not to us in the sense whether you done an physical count is not the question. The question is whether management is performed an audit inventory count. So we have a situation where management is done a physical verification subsequent to the year end, right? Which we discussed. So bring out the fact in the auditor's report, in the Caro report. I put out a small example of how can we put that Caro wordings. Give me a second. So here, nothing else. I mean, we are bringing out the fact in the Caro clause saying that yes, management has done, but they couldn't do on 31st March. It is done subsequent to the year end, and we haven't found any material discrepancy. It is a statement of fact, and everybody should bring the statement of fact, because it will be logical to say that we opened the showrooms on 31st March and counted it. Next is on the undisputed statutory dues. Here, everybody know up to 31st March, everything was closed. There are certain deadlines up to, as of 31st March was there. But the Nirmala Sitharaman came on TV and said that no, everything is extended, right? So I mean, then there is no delay. Even though she's given this like a large financial reform, it was only a relaxation in the interest payment, nothing else. Now, what Institute is saying, yes, you can take the extended timeline, and if it is paid within the extended timeline, it is okay. Okay, so only thing is, if they are not taken the extended timeline benefit and paid without that, then you need to report the fact in the auditor's report, or even after the extended timeline, the management is not paid, then bring out the fact even after the extended timeline, they are not paid, kind of thing. Okay, so some people will say, some clients again will say, see, when I'm paying TDS after 2 months, I'm paying the interest. Okay, so what is the big deal here? Why are you want to report? So that is a clear case to report. If you paid interest and it is part of your 26 AS, then it is a clear case to report the delays. Okay, and materiality should work in this situation, but if there are multiple cases of non-payment, delay, etc., bring out the fact. See, I mean, yes, clients are all our close friends, but if something goes wrong, nobody's there. I mean, it is us who need to go through all this pain. So if something's to be reported, make a statement of fact, and even in this. Next clause on repayment of borrowing, everybody aware, up to 31st August, the installment due has been postponed by RBI, which is a real good thing for companies, where even an auditor, we are comfortable, because otherwise most of this audit report should have an adverse opinion, because nobody will be a going concern if that not being extended, right? Because if you look at any financial, this 6 months non-payment of term loan is their huge cash benefit for them. That is what carrying in their books. So this was a good thing even for the client. I would rather say even for us, because when we look at the 12 months cash flow, you need to only look at the 7 months repayment. All right. Now, so 99% of clients are taken this moratorium. Institute is saying, if any of your client is taken the moratorium, bring out the fact that the company has availed that option. You don't need to say that any delay, but you should also say that they are availed the option, and if there is further delay, then of course you need to report. But if they avail the option through a letter to the bank, then bring out the fact in the auditor's report. This is primarily the Caro. I mean, other clauses, because of COVID, I don't think can significantly impact, unless any of you have a view around this. Happy to hear out. I'm not putting a slide on IFC, but briefly I'll tell you IFC. End of the day, internal financial controls on financial reporting. All these matters are financial reporting matters, but IFC, you have a leeway. if something which is not a significant deficiency as at the balance sheet date, you don't need to qualify your report in the IFC. But any of these is resulting into a modification in the auditor's report, ensure that you evaluated that in your IFC opinion as well. Yeah. So any further questions on this? Happy to take. I don't know, virtual meeting. Is it generally? I thought that we will have more questions than a regular meeting. So Chiryanji, is there a chat box or something available to the members? They can type it the question. I don't know.
Maybe chat box is there. Anyway, everybody is open to chat on that.
So is there a question? I mean,
No, nothing is there.
So hope, I think, so see, one way I think I would also can hear out some of your thoughts around this, because this is a mutual beneficial session for everyone, right? I think we have some 65, 67 people around this. Anything else some of us seeing in the client side where we finding it very difficult in a COVID situation? One is your thoughts to the other members so that others also will get benefited, or for my experience, if something I can share, happy to have this interaction.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm Shivraman. I have a question. Has
Yes,
the company law department, the ROC and the other people extended any of these dates of filing the returns or holding the annual general meetings and things like that beyond the original dates? I mean, what are the new dates specified?
Nothing is done yet, sir. I mean, as usual, right? Nirmala Sitharaman will come only 15 days prior to that on TVs and say that. So I mean, but at least clear, sir. I mean, everybody expecting that this will be extended. I mean, at least when we one of our partners are part of this MCA committee, etc. So it is clear that it will be extended. But as usual, government, Modi government is only will only come to the last. I mean, very.
Not only Modi government, any government, they always do. Every years we've been seeing it. So, but see, that means we should get ourselves insured for high blood pressure, because we go to an extent of losing on our health, and then last minute when we do somehow with great difficulty we manage the work, at the end of the night or midnight they increase the date. Tomorrow is the last day. Tonight they increase the date. So
Exactly,
such kind of things. I mean, our institute has a lot of bigwigs in various departments. At least we have central council elected people. I mean, can they not take up the practical difficulties we people face? Because, you know, as many of my friends, I mean, I can see many of my friends who have already grown old as me. You know, we are all old now. High time we stop practice this kind of concern.
Yeah, agree with you, sir. I mean, if Jomon sir is there, I actually wanted this question to him, because I mean, I am not so young. Okay, so
You're pretty young. You're pretty young.
No. So So because this has come in our mind, right? So why not enough support in the system now to chartered accountants? I mean, I don't know. It is my personal feeling. We all feel that regulators taking chartered accountants for granted now. Okay, I mean, different people will have a different feeling. And our, I mean, Jomon sir is there or not, I don't know, because we know Babu sir, etc. I spoken to him as well. How far central council, etc. can influence the regulators on this? Because I mean, I'll tell you one example, right? SEBI came up with a disclosure around related party a month or two back. You will surprised to see that in that committee which is formed to form this opinion doesn't have any single chartered accountant. You have representative from ICSI, you have representative from cost accounting, you have representative from MC, etc., but not even a single representative from a chartered accountant. It is. I mean, where do we stop? I mean, you can imagine how difficult it will be the others as well. But sir, I mean, your question around this extension, we all hope it will come on 29th, that it is extended for another month.
Looks like our profession is the most the profession least preferred by the government. If outside the students come to know of it, we'll have less input of students also into this profession.
No, that is actually happening, sir. I mean, for example, people like us, we have a large number of people, right? Around 3,000 people only in audit. So if you see the new generation people who coming in, they're actually quitting the job.
Yeah.
They're saying auditing is not a profession they want to, because
very true.
You are putting a chapa and,
Yes,
and you are responsible for next 15 years. Something goes wrong, right?
Yes.
So that's where we are.
Thank you so much for answering. Thank you very much, sir.
Good, sir. Any thoughts, sir, like this? I mean, this role, I think between you, I mean, you should share these thoughts to the members. I am also happy to share my thoughts, but yeah, encourage all of you to come forward, have this conversation. We have still some more time to go.
Actually, we are all really impacted by this COVID, really impacted. Financially, I won't know, some of us surely impacted, but then mentally staying at home, having worked all these years, I've been in practice for more than 42 years. I've even gone most of the Sundays I've been into office, at least
Oh my God.
enjoy the feel of the office. But then last 4-5 months sitting at home, the brain has, become rusted. I don't know, but then we'll have to get back to good work. That's
agreed, sir. Now nothing called work. So somebody was saying you are living in work, right? In the past that was not a situation, because your home is your working station. So you are living in work, right? You only take out your laptop only to eat food or do your primary activities, right? Beyond that, anybody can call you, even Sundays or Saturdays. I don't know, that is what you are experiencing, our clients, etc.
Consultancy, oral consultancy we can do, but all the files are stuck in the office. All the files, because we are used to, the old system of files. Only very few items are there in the computer. So what happens is we are not, even the accounting software, everything is in the office. That's the problem. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate you were able to touch up all the points so clearly. Really good. Most of the things came back to our mind. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Presentation is excellent. Excellent presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thanks, sir. Anybody else have anything? See, I mean, let me again come back to some of the topic which we had difficulty while finalizing. Of course, I told you going concern is something which we had significant difficulty, right? Second, the way management put forward the projections. My suggestion to all of you that yes, we need to support the management to get them a good projected financial statement so that we are not qualifying, but you also ensure that you are not at risk, right? So this is a common thing, because I mean we are work very closely with the client, so we help the client. End of the day, you prepare a cash flow which will help you to overcome the going concern situation, but ensure that you bring out the fact not as an audit qualification, but at least as a emphasis of matter paragraph, so that we are not at risk. This is a common thing across all financial we've seen. Second one, very common thing in trade receivable. Trade receivable is, I mean, highly risky these days. If you have something to an industry which is highly impacted, like your hotel, like your the airline or related assembling entities, etc., you be pretty sure that there is a portion of unrecoverability being ensured, because now clients is going for settlement. We can also see large companies is going for a settlement with the smaller companies, right? So they will say that we will settle with 90% this thing, and smaller companies is fine that they'll get 90% today instead of pending for a longer time. So that 10% is not a recoverable amount. That should reflect in the financial statement. I mean, be very, very clear on those assumptions when you make. Yeah. Anybody else? So Chiranji, are we waiting for? Otherwise, I am done. I mean, I can happy to still look at some of the questions or thoughts around this. but let me know if you have anything. Otherwise, I'm done on this.
Okay.
Benji, you need to wait for 5 more minutes.
Any questions from our side? I hope let us conclude.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Baby Paul, for the informative session that you have given on this relevant topic. We thankfully remember you for the support given to the branch last year. Especially, you had visited the branch twice for the SICASO seminar and also the students conference. We thank you for the session and your time and the support given to the branch. Once again, thank you, baby. Thank you all for joining with us. We thank Jomon sir for joining with us in this seminar. Anyway, thank you all. We had a nice sessions with you. Thank you, baby.
Thank you all for the time, and we'll meet you again soon. Thank you. Bye.